Hello again. I want to start by uh, talking about a new show on Netflix called Between. Spoilers, by the way, if anybody plans on watching it, you might want to skip ahead a few minutes. But I feel like it ties in perfectly to what I feel is going on this week. In the first episode, I believe, there is a teacher who hands out a bunch of envelopes to his students first day of class based off of birth month, coinciding with their if they're a Cancer or a Virgo, whatever, and basically trying to prove to them like, oh, let's see what similarities you can pull from your life based off of the information people say they get from what month you were born in, right? So then he has everybody read their package and raise their hand based off of if they thought it was somewhat similar, a lot similar, and a majority of the individuals said, yeah, it's pretty similar to my life. That's crazy. Well, then he tells everybody to pass their paper one desk back, and some events happen, but then when he turns back, one of the students is like, they all say the exact same thing, and boom, right there it is. When you think that everything's different, it seems cool that it's similar, but then when you realize that all of you had the exact same thing, what does that say about individuals and the way that we think? And I think that ties in directly to this, because what those kids did in that show was they basically just found ways to relate to something and made it seem like it could apply to their life. We're good at that. We're critical thinkers. That's what humans are. Regardless of age or educational level, you have critical thinking. That's something we have over, other animals. So I realized that a lot of people took one route for this week's discussion, but I feel like it needs to go the other way, and that is, I don't think that for me to claim that any of these stories have Americanness, it needs to apply to today. I think the fact that it's a part of the American past is what makes it American, because where you can always find a tie-in, you can always find some little snippet from any story, one little theme, and it'll apply to current life, but it could apply to people in Europe. It could apply to people in any other country. It doesn't have to be American. The only thing that truly makes it American is, the author and the timeline and the fact that it is a part of our past. And quickly, since we got six, my point being, 1853, we have Bartleby the Scrivener, I believe is how you pronounce it. This story, I know a lot of you tied in how, we're hard workers, we break down, boom, boom, boom. I get that. It has always been an American, we're the hardest working people, we work the longest hours. But in my opinion, it doesn't apply to today, because if we had this same kind of person who was a hard worker, go, 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 and then all of a sudden he's like, I'd rather not. How many of us have jobs where that is now, you go to training, boom, this person just changed, they flipped the script. We need to get them help. Like we don't live in that world now where it's like, you just push that to the side. Like, we take notice of things of that nature, and that has become a big part of American culture. Is people with mental illness, depression, things of that nature. We want to help them. We don't just let them live on a doorstep. So I see how people are making that correlation, but I feel like it's just, it shouldn't be a tie-in. It should be a part of us. Let's see, Daisy Miller by Henry James. I think that is a part of us. There are a few of these stories that show how gender bias we were at one point. And maybe I'm just oblivious and it goes over my head, but I honestly don't think it's nowhere near what it was. I have never once in my life felt that a woman was less than me. nor have I ever heard my dad say something chauvinistic. I don't have any friends that do that. So either I just have a very good ability to pick the right kinds of people, or you can honestly say that that problem is less than it was, obviously, during, for Daisy Miller, we'll say 74, when equal rights and, civil rights were a big deal. So, again, we're talking about events that are American because they are part of our cultural past. It doesn't need to tie into how things are today. Which one? Here we go. Mark Twain. Yes, people still go overboard with money, take too much debt, end up poor, whatever the case may be. But the same could be said about somebody over in China. What's effective with this story is that it took place around the time that the market crashed, and it shows a big event in the American past. And to me, that is basically what I'm getting at is all of these pieces create a literary canon that is Americanness, but not because it can be pulled and applied to today's generation. Instead, because it's a part of a timeline of our progression and events that have happened in our social past. With Sleepy Hollow, that's something that's still big today. There's TV shows about it, movies, but it does portray gender roles again, and also the issues that we had with witchcraft. And by issues, I mean, the insane actions that people took in regards to believing witchcraft was real. And to me, if there is anything that unifies most of these, not all of them, but gender roles. And I have a hard time reading literature because of that fact. I cannot stand the idea that, one gender is less than another. Do I have more muscle mass than my wife? Yeah, I do. But that doesn't make it any different. And there's women out there that have more muscle mass than I do. So really, it's an equal playing field on that aspect. And I don't understand why, to make this Americanness, we need to pull from it and say that it's today. Because if that's the case, then I'll go find a piece of literature from Europe during the 1800s that applies to today, and I'll be like, that's Americanness right there. Instead, that canon should be filled with things that can be a literary journey of where we are today with American culture. So my thoughts. I would have to say that the Ministers, Black Veil, and also Daisy Miller were the two hardest for me. I am not religious by any means. So in my thoughts, the Minister's Black Veil, for instance, it seemed very much the religious view being choked down your throat kind of thing. And that's not to say that I'm not against religion. It's more of I think we have progressed to such a cultural melding pot that there's so many different religions, so many different belief systems, that you don't even have to have a religion to have a belief system in something greater than yourself. But during that time, 1836, there was, a lot of times there was one belief, and there was one man that told you what to believe and told you when you were right or you were wrong. And we have evolved past that. We have we have better critical thinking skills. We are more self-aware. We have more dynamic going to where that doesn't apply. On the other side of it, I think we've hit a point where we've hit a pinnacle peak on that, and now people are being disrespectful. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll now level out. It'll come back down a little bit. As far as Daisy Miller, as I've already said, I really hate gender roles. You know, but yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Uh, I honestly felt like these stories are Americanness for a different reason than I'm noticing in the discussion board. Perhaps I copped out, or maybe I'm just missing the mark completely. I do see America in all of these. Uh, the occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, during the Civil War, big American moment. It gives you insight on an event that is a part of your cultural history. Doesn't have to mean that it's still apparent today. Those are my thoughts. So I'm keeping it short. Look at that. We're boom 10:50. So I hope to hear from you guys. If I'm completely off, then please let me know and we can strike up some conversation. Thanks for watching.